Hello there, my name is PolishLynx, welcome to irae, amentes, and, well, there's the voice Ren welcomes us with. Anywho, let us continue. What happened after the battle? What happened? Oh, so you still are here. How long have I been out for? Maybe it's only been a few minutes or possibly a few hours. Following my sudden waking, I realized that someone must have shaken me up. Turning around, I saw the black-haired girl who, well, it was hard to say for sure, but it seemed like she had saved my life. She regarded me silence, her expression visibly bored. There was no one else around. Wilhelm and the red-haired girl had already left, so the body and all the blood had similarly vanished, kind of. Impossible. How was this even?
処理はマレウスがやった。それからベイも、今はあなたとあなたの周りに興味をなくしたようだから、心配はいらない。
Hey?
どうかした?
A lot. Initially confused by how exactly she had foreseen my question, I ultimately realized it couldn't have been particularly difficult. By cleanup she was referring to the body, wasn't she? How did they get rid of it without a single trip? No wait, I actually didn't want to know. No doubt having guessed my thoughts from my expression, the girl let out a sigh.
理解に至ったようなら帰りなさい。忘れろと言っても無理でしょ。忘れてもらっても困るけど、今日のところはもうあなたに用はない。
Thanks.
せいぜい交通事故にでも気をつけることね。体は平気？平気みたいね。立って帰ることくらいはできるでしょ。それで、あなたの名前は？
Doesn't matter. She just kept on going without any concern for my feelings. Come on, go home. Yeah, I'd go home alright. But give me my name, what?
教えるわけがないだろ
う。ベイのことなら心配ないと言ったはずだけどね。
お前を信じろって。
こんな嘘をついて私に何か得があるなら教えてほしい。
Well, that might have been true, but still.
自己紹介しないの
？Should we? Or should we not? 15. You know, I kind of don't trust them, because of obvious reasons, actually. And, you know, yeah, before she said she wouldn't go after them, I think they might actually go after them, because that's kind of people they are, kind of, or, well, whatever. Yes or no, yes, no.
するわけないだろ。俺は帰る。
そう。怖いなら家まで送ってあげましょうか。
余計なお世話だ。
I turned down, spitting her words out.
また会えるといいわね。
Yeah, right. I never wanted to meet or even see her again if I could help it. God damn it, why? Did I really kill someone? Now that the body was gone, I had no way of confirming.
じきにまた増えるわよ。
It almost sounded like she had read my mind when she said that. I felt unbelievably irritated. How did things come this? I wish someone would tell me. Why did this have to... It was a miracle I made it back home in one piece after all that. Must have been unconsciously stealing myself, as nausea assaulted me the moment I passed through my front door. Unable to suppress it, I threw up all over the entryway. Even after vomiting this much, the spasms in my stomach refused to settle down. Damn it. This had to be a joke of some sort. Cousin was gonna lecture me again if she saw the mess I'd made. I had to do something about this before she came over in the morning to wake me up. I held back my endlessly welling nausea as I cleaned up my own vomit. Halfway through, unable to hold it longer, I threw up in the sink, but... She was probably sleeping like a log right about now. Of course, I kept internally apologizing to her for making so much noise in the middle of the night, and make sure there was no stench left, so I hoped she'd forgive me. I didn't want her to ever find out that I might have been a murderer, that I was attacked by some strange people, and that I was so pathetically scared to death right now. I knew how much of a warlord she was. She'd probably cry her eyes out. I need Kasumi to be her usually stupid, cheerful, and smiling self, otherwise I'd lose it. So... yeah. I knew I was breaking my promise by keeping secrets from her, but I hoped she'd forgive me. I'd apologize to her eventually, probably sooner than later. With the urge to vomit up my stomach acid gone, I wiped my mouth with my cuff. Oddly enough, there were no spurts of blood or bloodstains to be found. My wounds really had healed. She called it first aid treatment, but why did it completely heal me? It defied common sense and... ugh, common sense. I wished I could write the whole thing off as a dream, but... still wrestling with those selfish thoughts, I took off my tattered clothes and threw them in the trash. Then, after a minute's hesitation, I took a peek into Kasumi's room through the hole in the wall. Thank God. My consciousness began to fade out as I felt relief welling up inside me.
Soれじゃあまず言い訳があるなら聞こうかな。裸で、しかも穴から上半身だけ出して、すごい寝相ですね、君は。何やってんのよ、マジで。
My morning began with Kasumi lecturing me. As for why, well, it was just like she had said. I couldn't really blame her for being exasperated.
もしかして、予売？
違う。
じゃあなんで裸？
暑かったんだよ。
あんた寒がりだって言ってたじゃない。
熱っぽくてな。
嘘、本当に
？Seemed like this was the wrong answer.
言われてみれば、なんか本当に顔色悪いね。熱測る？
Well, on the other hand, Kasumi looked more perplexed than worried. I tried putting on a brave face, but it wasn't going well. I wasn't expecting that stupid lie to actually fool her.
今日は休んだ方がいいんじゃない？病み上がりなんだし、無理するのは良くないよ。
大丈夫。
It was true that I would have physically appreciated taking the day off, but I didn't feel like I could just hold myself up in my room. I needed something normal to erase the abnormal experience I went through yesterday.
行くよ、俺。日数やばいし。
そんな1日2日で危なくなるほどシビアな出席日数だっけ？っていうか、あんた学校嫌いなんじゃ。
別に嫌いじゃない。好きでもないけど。
But right now I kinda needed it. Holding my head, I attempted to stand up, but... feeling lightheaded, I ended up collapsing on my bed. Unbelievable, I couldn't even do something that simple.
決まりだね。あんた今日は休みなさい。なんだったら、私も休んで看病とかしてあげよっか。ほら、おかゆとか作って、あーんみたいな。
Yes?
ちょっと何よ、嫌なら嫌って言いなさいよね。
いや。
うわ、何こいつ本当に言ったよ、ありえねえ。
違う、そうじゃなくて。
I found myself seriously conflicted for a moment. Since I couldn't move, I wondered if having her around would be safer. But that was a mistaken conclusion. It was morning, so Kasumi would be in less danger around all the everyday people commuting to school and work. It would be better than her being alone with me in this place. At the very least, I couldn't allow myself to take advantage of her goodwill.
学校には行く。だけどすぐには無理そうだから、先行っててくれ。
大丈夫なの？そんなんで。
大丈夫。
That was all I could say. I had to force myself to do so. Now that I said it, I couldn't turn back.
多分、昼までには行けると思う。担任には適当に言っといてくれ。
わかった。じゃあ早く来ないと、私を襲ってきたから KO しちゃいましたって言うからね。
ああ、好きに言いふらしてくれ。
In reality, that wasn't all that different from what actually happened. But now that I thought about it...
かすみ、テレビで何かやってたか？
どういうこと？
だからその、あれだよ。
A murder.
昨日も、やっぱりあったのか？
あ
Has immediately cast down her eyes, but it was only natural. I didn't exactly ask in a good way.
今日はまだ報道されてなかったね。犯人も昨日はお休みだったんじゃないのかな。
そうか。
So the body really did vanish, wrestling with a number of complex feelings I have as I.
このまま二度と起きなきゃいいのにね。そしたらみんなも。
そうだな。
Kasumi didn't, or rather, no one aside from me and those three psychos knew about what happened last night. She didn't need to know. At the very least, it was probably best to keep it locked away in my heart until I felt ready to tell her. Even if I were to confess right here and now, no one would believe me without the body as proof. Not to mention the obvious question of how I made such a huge mess without any weapons. There was still a part of me that considered last night to have been a dream, or rather, a part of me that desperately wanted to believe that.
手間取らせて悪かった。お前も遅刻しないうちに行った方がいいぞ。
了解。じゃあそっちも早く後追ってきなさいよ。
わかった。
覇気がない。
うざい。早く行け。
I drove Kasumi out of the room with a wave of my hand. I felt dizzy from raising my voice, but it wasn't enough to wear me out. I had to be stout-hearted. I didn't know how, but my wounds had healed, so this was really mostly in my head. With that said, for
霞のやつ、やけにあっさり引いたよな。
she was quite fond of preaching, meddling in others' affairs, and was a complete worrywart, but it truly did come as a shock that she simply did as she was told without offering any complaints. Yeah, that's actually true.
まあ、いいか。
A girl's birds were too complicated for a guy like me to understand, as thick as an autumn sky. Anyway, I needed to recover my strength, and with that mind I decided to rest for a while. For I felt drowsy, sleeping was the last thing I could allow myself to do. Just as that thought drifted through my mind, And so I ended up staying still for about 4 hours. My condition was a far cry from what could be called a full recovery, but the nausea feeling in my chest had settled down. I had a headache from the lack of sleep, but I kept ignoring it. If I left for school now, I could probably make it before lunch break, although I couldn't even remember what class I was supposed to have in the afternoon. Entering my dizziness, I changed my uniform and went outside. It was cold. Goosebumps began to cover my entire body, but not due to the temperature. The scenery I should have considered familiar felt terribly off for some reason. Those freaks still lurked somewhere in the city. That thought alone made me see my normal route to school in a completely different light. My fear towards those mysterious unknown beings began to cast an ominous filter over my world. In any case, I need to carry on over to the school. On my way, I debated whether or not to go to the park, but in the end I decided to take a detour. I didn't want to go anywhere near that place right now. I walked with a faster pace than usual, but as my condition forced me to take a few breathers along the way, for fear had already been ended by the time I arrived at school. For maybe this was just the right time to arrive, fashionably late. With the school bell still chiming in the background, I spot a familiar face come out through the gate. Himura, seeing her safe, filled me with relief. Still, I wondered what she was doing here. After a few minutes, Himura took time to stop me as well.
こんにちは。今頃来たの、藤井君。
She wore the same old poker face as always. Was she going home?
ピンポン。私帰るところ。残念だけど、入れ違いだね。
Looks like my thoughts were written all over my face.
先輩、体調でも崩しましたか？
それは君の方じゃないの？顔、真っ白だよ。
He sure is. No. I'm just checking something, game, don't worry about this. Really, I couldn't exactly tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be true.
とっても美人。やつれた方とか、色っぽい。怒りんぼだね。すぐそんな顔する。
余計なお世話ってやつですよ。
My tone was a bit harsh, but I saw no reason to be formal with her after all this time. Anyway, it felt unnatural for me to have rather offbeat conversations with her. More importantly, she was going home on her own in the middle of the day on the weekday, with barely anyone out on the streets.
先輩、 今帰るのはちょっと。
私は帰るよ。誰が何と言っても帰るよ。神様の命令でも聞かないよ。
Okay.
まだ何か？
いえ。
Following a moment of hesitation, I ultimately caved in. She wasn't connected to me by the way Kasumi was, so I figured it would be best to keep the distance between us that way. For someone with so few friends, that felt like a painful choice, but...
じゃあ、俺は行くんで。先輩もなんでサボるのか知らないけど。さよなら。
She gave a light nod, to which I replied with a curt wave before letting her pass by me. I felt genuinely relieved as I proceeded to cross through the gate. Almost everyone here was my age, and the place was basically off limits to outsiders. Even though I was only on close terms with a select few here, this place still remained relatively free from foreign contamination. This was without a doubt a symbol of my day-to-day life, as well as a place I would literally call my fortress right about now. Man, who would have thought I'd be thinking of school like that one day?
藤井君。
Potentially due to how lost I was in my own thoughts, hearing my name spoken out loud surprised me, as I reflexively turned around.
気をつけてね。
は？
Huh? Careful? Of what? Himura paid no heed to my confusion, turned around and left, with nothing else to add, almost like she was in a hurry to get out of here as soon as possible. Unable to untangle the web of incomprehensible feelings taking hold of me, I simply stood there for a while, staring blankly into space instead of going after Himura. Oh. I might have stood there forever and had Kasumi not picked that moment to call me on my phone.
いや、校門のとこだけど。
そうなの？あ、ちょっと待って。あ、いたいた。はーい、やっほー、こっち見ろ。
Hey? I turned around and saw Kasumi leaning out of a window on the third floor waiting to me. As embarrassing as always.
気分どう？良くなった？良くなったんならさっさとこっちに上がってきなさい。驚くよ。
すでにお前の大声で十分驚いてるんだけど。
I could hear her loud and clear already. There was really no need to use the phone. Sighing, I held my phone away from my ear to escape the auditory nightmare. Well, I had no idea what happened, but she seemed to be as cheery as always. I wish she'd pass some of that energy to me.
すぐ行く。だからもうわめくなよ。
了解。
And she didn't listen. Man, she really was loud. I entered the school, smiling but bitterly to myself. However, I found myself suddenly assaulted by an intense sense of discomfort. Oppression. Like the school itself had been thrown into the depths of the ocean. Or the belly of a colossal beast? The air froze over and cracked. A grotesque, difficult to describe presence gradually encroached out of these cracks, like blood oozing from a fresh wound. Well, it seemed more like everything in this place had changed from the way it was yesterday. Only barely, but enough to be felt with terrifying clarity. I remembered this welling up sense of nausea. It felt just like the one from yesterday. That mixture of blood, death, decay, and other freak enough to make one faint. The stench of murder. The two of them looked down on me just like they did last night. My vision warped from the backlighting. Despite being noon, the rays of the sun seemed to wear the crimson hue of blood, at least to my eyes. Two girls towered over me in that light, wearing uniforms I'd been all too familiar with, yet their presence felt dreadfully out of place, like a colossal abnormality in the midst of the mundane. They looked graceful and sweet as flowers. Wow! Yet they were in truth carnivorous plants in disguise, their thorns sipping only poison. There they stood in a world disconnected enough from reality to make me firmly believe that.
はじめまして、藤井蓮君。私はルシャルカ・シュベーゲリン。こっちの怖い顔は桜井圭。素敵なところね、このシューレ。気に入ったわ。
German. The red-haired girl, Rosalka, uttered her introduction with a mocking smile decorating her cherubic face. Did that get up mean she was a transfer student? Her words, the surprise Kasumi mentioned was,
ご名答。私たち同じクラスよ。あなたとかすみと。だからね、仲良くしましょう。
Zarathustra. Her last comment came not from her lips, but echoed directly in my head. The resulting headache felt so violent I found myself nearly falling down the staircase. The school was no longer my fortress, no longer my safe haven. Circumstances had mixed into my day-to-day life. I could feel dread spreading throughout my body. The world as I once knew it crumbled to ashes with a thunderous roar. I couldn't escape this.
そうね。楽しくやりましょう。
あなたが賢明ならいいけれど。
One voice rang with playfulness, another with piercing severity. Locked in those two stares, I felt a hopeless sense of xenophobia, a fear towards the unknown, filling my chest. This day, hour, and minute marked the beginning of my day-to-day life's gradual collapse, and I was powerless to stop it. Ouch. There is the O. There L, the O, in Shambhala. 7 out of 13. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Swastika, 0 out of 8. Chapter 2, Xenophobia, End. Huh? Still don't know what the stats are about completely. Are we supposed to fight some swastikas or something? Or it's just about this, the things that they were placing. They were talking about placing something like that around. Anywho, on the outside, the two off-season transfer students grew accustomed to school without any problems. Rusalka Schweglin, the cheerful and sociable exchange student who quickly ended up popular among boys and girls alike. Kei Sakurai, her taciturn, indifferent and mature image served as a wall between her and the others, but rather than avoiding her, it felt more like others believed she was out of their league. They were polar opposites, but together they made a picture-perfect combination. Truth be told, it could be said that their appearance alone had taken complete control of the school. They had a talent for attracting followers around them just by being there. No plan, no violence, nothing. To call it a kind of charisma would likely be quite apt, but I couldn't endure it at all. What in the world were those two doing at my school? Or rather, what goal did they have in mind? It was a terrifyingly foolish question. They were here for me, to observe my day-to-day life. I had to pretend everything was fine. I couldn't show them a single opening, while also making sure to observe them in turn. The school now housed two dangerous beasts, and I was the only one aware of it. It had already been a week since Kasumi, Himuro, and the others, that is, all the students and teachers, had been unknowingly taken hostage. And that alone was hardly my only source of anxiety. I couldn't have dreams. In particular, I had to somehow prevent myself from sleeping at night. If I slept, people would die. I murdered people in my sleep. And almost as if to support that very notion, the murderers had kissed ever since I stopped sleeping. So one night... well... for us, but after chapter started, I guess we skipped a bit of time. I'd spent the whole week on edge. So, a week, unable to even take a proper rest. I wondered which would come first, madness or death. I felt my sanity crumbling, and the nightmare was still going on. Chapter 3, End of the Nightmare. The ching of the bell woke me from a light sleep. Though, to be more accurate, I hadn't been completely asleep. A part of my consciousness still registered the sounds and people around me. I couldn't fall into a deep sleep, no matter what. Brief rest like that had proven to be effective and somehow managed to keep me going throughout the week, for I didn't imagine it would last much longer. I slept 2 to 3 hours a day at most. They were all limited to classes, free periods, and after school. Apart from that, I didn't sleep at all. Even I found it reckless, but I couldn't think of any other solutions. My thoughts remained in a constant haze, my consciousness ever dim. Hell, I bet if I looked in the mirror, I'd see a ghost of man staring back at me. Kasumi had been worried too. The one piece of good news, though, I didn't know if I should be glad or not, was that the serial killings had stopped. Some were reacting optimistically, while others remained more nervous, but generally speaking, everyone here was thinking the same thing. Maybe the killer's no longer in the city! I would have been happy if that was the case, but I knew it wasn't. I had to somehow settle things as quickly as possible, regardless of whether I was the killer or not, regardless of those, of who. I don't know, I feel like I'm in his situation right now because I keep yawning and yawning, regardless of who those 2 transfer students really were. I had to do it now, while my mind and body were still more or less functional. If this situation dragged on any longer, I had doubts if I could retain my sanity. As long as Sakurai and Rusalka remained here at school, I had to keep the act up. I couldn't predict what they'd do if I stayed holed up in my apartment, but during the times when we were all in uniform at school, I'd have a chance to get in contact with them. That was the conclusion come to after observing them for a week. If their goal was to mess up this place, they probably wouldn't go through the dual motions of pretending to be transfer students. I'd realized as much a little while back, but I guess it really was my own fear that kept me from taking a step forward. There was also the fact that I'd been too passive in observing their actions. But I felt it too dangerous to stall any longer. The problem was how I'd get in contact with them. I couldn't just invite them to land. What I had to do was create a situation where I didn't attract the attention of my acquaintances, particularly that of Kasumi, while also making sure they were still people nearby. That way I could talk to them privately. Yeah, that wasn't gonna work. Those 2 stuck out like sore thumbs. If possible, I wanted to avoid being left alone with them, but then what was I supposed to do? So I proceeded to fall prostrate on the desk, internally cursing the whole situation. It was time.
さ、ちょっと君。次、体育だから、これから私たち着替えないといけないんだけど。
Oh, right.
悪い。
Kasumi missed some because I got out of my seat, but whatever it was went right past my ears as I left the classroom. As I glanced back on my way out, I noted that neither Sakurai nor Rusalka were there. What was I supposed to do? Look for Sakurai or look for Rusalka? Well, okay, does that choice actually have any matter? Seriously, it's like you are looking for 2 people that basically probably hang out with each other, so well, whatever, let's go with the first option. Whatever, right? Okay, Sakurai, she still seemed a touch easier to deal with. We'd only spoken a little, but at the very least she was also Japanese. I could probably talk with her without being constantly on edge. I thought I spotted her at the end of the hallway. Yeah, that had to be her, after getting a bit over how I was gonna approach her.
Sakurai.
In the end, I went for a frontal attack. Frontal assault.
お前、体育に出ないのか？サボるんならちょっと付き合ってほしいんだけど。なあ、聞いてる？
The more I talked, the more I felt like a dumbass, but I kept going regardless. It kind of made me look like some sleazy pickup artist. Signing ever so faintly, Sakurai gave me a glance.
驚いた。意外に大胆なのね、あなたって。だけどごめんなさい。せっかくのお誘いだけど乗れないわ。先約がある。
先約？ここでか？
There shouldn't have been any normal students at this point who'd associate with Sakurai, meaning whoever she was meeting with didn't qualify as ordinary.
ルサルカと？
いいえ。でも安心しなさい。別に何をどうしようってわけでもないから。悪いけど、デートの相手なら彼女にしてもらってくれないかしら。
え？
そういうこと。私でよければいくらでも付き合うわよ。
I turned around to follow Sakura's gaze, only to find that Rusalka had snuck up behind me without as much as a sound. For the third time. One could say I was caught between a rock and a hard place.
レオン、あなた何言ったのよ。レン君が緊張しちゃってるじゃない。
私は何も。彼が緊張しているなら、それはあなたが原因でしょ。自分の行動を鑑みてみなさい。正直、あれで好感を持たれていたら、彼の正気を疑ってしまう。
はあ、ひどいな。何自分だけ言いこぶっちゃってんのよ。感じ悪い。ごめんね、レン君。この子っては怖いでしょ。だから、私とデートしましょう。何よ、その顔。私じゃ不服？
いや。
For I'd gotten used to seeing her over the past week, Rusalka was like a completely normal schoolgirl who I found myself unable to shake off my bewilderment at how different she was compared to our first meeting.
ねえ、もうひどいことしないからさ。あの時のことは許してよ。
Well, refusing to forgive her would only make things more complicated. She was still very much a mystery to me, but I had learned not to carelessly pick a fight with her.
許す許さないは置いといて。桜井がダメならお前でもいい。付き合ってくれ。
おいおい、私はレオンの次ですか？
話がまとまったなら、私は行くわよ。せいぜい彼を丁重に扱いなさい。それからくれぐれも。
はいはい、ケーキは慎めでしょ。分かってますよ、それくらい。じゃあね、レオン。あなたも少しここじゃ可愛く喋るように気をつけなさい。
そっちの方こそ、猫をかぶりすぎて滑稽なことに、早く気づいた方がいい。
Shaking her head in irritation, Sakurai turned to leave.
藤井君も、よければまた誘ってちょうだい。待ってるから。
I'm good. Kasumi or Himura. Yeah. And off she went, her raven locks swaying behind her. The contents of her line might have sounded almost affectionate, but she certainly made sure to voice it in the coldest of tones.
なんかあの子、レン君と話すときだけ妙に態度が違くない？いやーね、これだから差別主義者は。それは別にどうでもいいわ。ねえ、レン君。場所を変えましょう。こんなところで話してると、かすみに見つかっちゃいそうだし。困るんじゃない？そうしたら、いろいろと。
I gave her a silent nod.
決まりね。じゃあ、どこがいい？
屋上。
いまいちムードに欠ける選択ね。さてはあなた、まだデートに慣れてないの？しょうがない。だったら私が教えてあげます。ほら、腕こうやって。
She pointed to my arm as if telling me to open it. Did she want me to wrap mine around hers? Come on. What?
ちょっと待ってよ。一人で行くなんて冷たいよ。
And so here on off, ignoring her pouting, I headed for the roof. It was an act, and I wouldn't be fooled by her appearance and behavior, not when I knew what lurked beneath. I didn't let my guard down. Even with my mind thoroughly exhausted, it seemed like I still had enough willpower left to make that judgment. After arriving at the roof, I walked to the center and turned around facing Rusalka.
さて、それじゃあどんな話をしようかしら。どういう風にお話しする？
The way that beaming innocent smile of hers lacked even the tiniest hint of spite was driving me crazy. But I couldn't allow her to control the flow of the conversation. I had to keep calm if I want to get the results I was looking for.
まずいくつか俺の方から質問する。それに答えられる範囲で答えてくれ。ただし、嘘は絶対言うなよ。
了解。じゃあそうしましょう。質問どうぞ。
ああ。
Still wringing his brains from how readily she agreed to the whole thing, I mentally prepared the questions I wanted to ask her. What should I ask? What? That's a lot of questions. Do I have only one option or something like that? 17. I don't know. You think the questions will appear again? Well, alright, well, let's go one after the other one, I guess, if we can actually ask all the questions. Alright, what are you people?
お前ら何者なんだ?
The simplest yet biggest of my questions.
普通じゃないのはわかる。あんなふざけたなりして夜出歩いてる時点でまともじゃない。
Then why were they doing all these things?
お前ら殺人事件に何か関係でもあるのか?
そうね。関係あるのはむしろあなたの方じゃないの？
俺が犯人だって。
あら、違うのかしら?
Saying that didn't change the fact that I had no idea. Rather, I didn't want to know. I mean, according to all the circumstantial evidence, it was undoubtedly a rather plausible possibility.
俺に殺人なんかする動機はない。
それが言い訳？理屈としては弱いわね。ここで起こっているのはそんな真っ当なものなのかしら。あなたはどう思っているの？自分でも当てにならないと思ってることは切り札になんかならないよ。もっと現実的になりなさい。そういう素質はありそうだけどね。どんなに不可解でも納得ができなくても他に答えがなければそれが真実。そういう考え方できないの？したくないの？
That's not really the answer to the question I picked. He changed that question. Damn it.
それともするのが怖いのかな？
大きなお世話だ。俺のことなんかどうでもいい。聞いてるのは俺の方だ。そもそもお前は質問に答えていない。
確かにそれもそうね。
Salka quickly caved in once I raised my voice a little. And as I wondered what she was going to say.
私はリッター。そう思って。
You got me curious, if that is a thing in any of the languages. I think it is in German. But, well, let's check it out quickly. Ritter. That's definitely not what I'm looking for. No. Some sports shop somewhere, some with the pneumatic toys and so on. Okay, that's not that what I was looking for. But I was completely lost.
XS、ナイト、カバリエーレ。つまりは騎士ね。そういうこと。あ、この国の侍ってのとは違うわよ。私たち中とか義とか6とかそういうの持ってないから。
So you are nothing really interesting.
でもそれだと騎士でもないのかな。ま、別にどうでもいいけど。
Eh? She seemed to have come to some sort of conclusion while leaving me totally in the lurch. Knights in the 21st century? It sounded like a bad joke. Well, unfortunately we have other crap in 21st century.
真面目に答えろよ。
あ、失礼ね。私嘘なんか言ってないもん。正真正銘の本物だってば。そりゃ今時剣も鎧もつけてないから分かりづらいかもしれないけど。
嘘でも冗談でもないのなら頭のおかしなやつのザレ言だ。
なに？さっきはまともじゃないとか言ってたくせにここでそんなこと言い出すんだ。おかしいな。
Thanks.
じゃあそうね。今度は別の言い方をしようかな。私に限って言えばリッターでヘクセ。つまりは魔法使いさんなのだよ。これで少しはピンときたかな？
Well, at least she's not an old hack kind of witch. That's good.
魔法使いだ？
ほうきに乗って飛んだりはしないけどね。
Her tone sounded playful, but with her it always did. As such, I couldn't really tell if she was being serious or not. I did witness her perform something like magic though. She healed all my wounds after Wilhelm beat the crap out of me. Was it magic or a trick or the real deal? Well, I didn't know, but decided to put the question on hold for now. I highly doubt she would have given me a straight answer anyway. I didn't particularly feel like a complete answer, but what should I ask? The same question. Okay, what's the point of asking? Alright, it will probably pop out again, so whatever. I don't think we need to save now. What's that Zarathustra?
Zarathustra ってのは。
さあ、なんでしょうね。
What?
俺をそう呼んでただろ。
ええ、確かにそうだけど、あなたは否定したじゃない。違うの？
違わない。
That was my name, but speculated that this whole Zarathustra thing they kept talking about referred to the killer.
別に話してもいいんだけどね。あなた理解できないでしょうし、どうしようかな。ねえ、レン君、少し聞きたいんだけど、あなた、ご両親は日本の人？
何？
だから、あなたの家系は純粋な日本人かって聞いてるのよ。
Where the hell did that come from? Selected her honest reply.
大昔のことは知らないけど、じいさんばあさんまでは日本人だ。
Or so I heard.
それがどうした？
なるほど。じゃあ薄いわね。あながち外れてるとも思えないけど。
Eh?
おい。
When would she stop leaving me out of the loop? I had no idea what she was even going on about.
あなたの名字は？父方？母方？
だからなんでそんなことを聞くんだって言ってんだよ。
いやね、みんな気にしてるようだからね。
みんな？
ええ、私の仲間。まだ全員集合してないけどね、半分くらいは揃ってるわ。そのうち勢ぞろいするはずだから、その時のために聞いてるの。
Comrades? Her comrades? They were more like her. There were... What?
ザラトゥストラはメルクリウスのエビヒカイトを受け継いで、同じアーネエルベを持っていると思われる。ごめん。こんな言い方じゃわかんないか。
Then spill the beans!
とにかくね、私たちの中に一人だけ付き合い悪いやつがいるのよ。だから、ザラトゥストラはその代役。欠番要員っていうか、番外役者ね。
つまりそいつはお前らの仲間だと。
さあ、どうだろうね。もともと敵なのか味方なのかよくわかんない。いけすかないやつだったから。
That...
メルクリウスってやつが。
Mercurius. If memory serves me right, that was the Latin reading of Mercury, and another name of Hermes from Greek mythology, is right? It also referred to the chemical element.
まあ、とにかく、私たちもザラトゥストラについてはよく知らないのよ。5義以上のことは今のところね。だから、そうね。気になるなら、ニーチェの本でも読んでみるといいんじゃない？ドイツ語版でよかったら貸してあげるよ。
Yeah, I do mind.
いや、いい。
Alright, let's get to the lecture. Not really. Not really, let's not. Well, I guess if you say it's there, then it surely is in the internet as well, right? So, Zarathustra. Yeah, if you could freaking give me English informations, that would be nice. Internet. Anywho, ignoring the fact that I couldn't even read German, I had no intention of borrowing anything from her. Forget it, let's stop here. What should I ask? Huh. Okay. Okay. More or less no. Where's that other guy?
もう一人いただろう。あいつはどこに？
レイのこと？
そいつだ。
That pale white-haired man. He felt like the biggest threat. I felt like I could still more or less talk to Sakura and Rusalka, but you couldn't even hold a proper conversation with that guy. Just the thought of him still being in the city made my heart race. Rusalka let out a giggle as if she'd figure out the source of my discomfort from my behavior.
嫌われてるわね、あいつったら。まあ、いつものことだけど。レイは、いや、そうね。あいつはビルヘルム・エーレンブルグって名前なんだけど、覚えてる？
No.
似合わないけど上品な名前でしょ？笑っていいわよ。構わないから。
Wilhelm. Well, I wasn't sure, but it sounded like a Central European name. But in that case, yeah, sounds German.
なんで別の名前で呼ばれてる？いや、あいつだけじゃない。お前も桜井も。
I remember them referring to each other with these peculiar names.
それはね、ちょっとしたあだ名みたいなものなのよ。性格とか特性とか、そういうのに合わせて入団するときに決められるの。私はどうでもよかったけど、創立者の趣味だね、あれは。で、レイがどこにいるかだけど、正直なところ、わかんないな。
え？
ちょっと何よ、本当にわかんないんだからしょうがないでしょ。
半分が。
They didn't seem like the kind of bother keeping track of each other, but I very much doubt she couldn't at least make an educated guess.
町にいるのかいないのか、それくらいわかるんじゃないのか。
知らないわよ、そんなことは。気まぐれなやつだし、どこかで遊んでるんじゃないかしら。ただ、昼間のうちは外に出ないと思うけどね。
それはどういう？
教えない。なんか頭に来ちゃったから、この話はもうおしまいよ。
Pouting, she sulkily turned away from me. Well, it wasn't intentional, but it was the best not to anger her. What should I ask next? Why did you come to this city?
じゃあなんでこの町に来た？一体何が目的で？
そんなの聞いてどうするのよ。
どうするも何も、それがわからなきゃ安心できない。
わかれば安心できるとも限らないでしょ。
安心できないようなことなのか。
どうだかね。
Rusalka sounded inner giggle while giving me a meaningful look. Was it in her nature to lord over others? If so, that was nothing to be proud of.
お前、俺をイラつかせて楽しいのかよ。答える気がないなら素直にそう言え。
そう言ったら、レン君は納得するの？
まあ、しないと思うが。
でしょ？だから私困ってるんじゃない。
She's clearly avoiding the question. She sure as hell didn't look troubled. Then we're not gonna get any further at this rate.
まあまあ、短気は良くないわよ。もっと我慢強いタイプだと思ってたけど、案外そうでもないみたいね。私としても、聞かれたことぐらいは答えてあげたいつもりだよ。でも、そのまま言って理解できるとも思えないし、もしかしたら、でたらめ言うなって怒られるかもしれないじゃない？そういうの、お互い嫌でしょ？でも、慌てるのは優雅じゃないし、いろいろ言葉を選んでるのよ。だからそっちも真摯になってくれないかな。ねえ、どう
？Seemed like I had no choice.
わかったよ。さっきも言ったが、嘘言わないならそれでいい。だから。いや
ーもう、レン君って優しいね。大好き。
急に抱きついてくるな。ふざけてないでさっさと話せよ。
何よもう、この照れ屋さんめが。
She began to reluctantly back away. Was surely the same person from the night? I felt somewhat perplexed.
私たちがこの町に来た目的はね、大まかに言うと約束を果たすため。もうずーっと前にみんな揃って約束したの。いつか目的を果たしましょうって。内容は一人一人で違うんだけど、その前提条件としてやらなきゃいけないことがあるから、 それをなすの。そのためにはこの町に来ないといけなくて、レン君や他の人にも協力してもらわないといけないわけ。こんな感じで今はダメかな。
Honestly, I didn't understand any of the main points.
協力って俺や他の連中に何をさせるつもりなんだよ。
別に何もしなくて構わないわよ。ただいてくれるだけでいいから。
何？
What in the world did that mean?
だから言ったところで理解なんかできないってば。あなたが本当にメルクリウスの援助ならこれでピンとくるはずなんだけどな。
Really didn't like at all.
というわけでこの話はもうおしまい。焦らなくてもいずれわかるようになるかもしれないし。そんな顔しないでよ。別にひどいことしようとか思ってないから信用して。
できるのかよ。
それはあなたが決めることでしょ。違う？
I figured I'd thrown her off for now, but it didn't look like we'd getting anything else out of prodding this topic. What should I ask next? So, what do you plan to do with me? Huh?
お前ら俺をどうするつもりだ？
どうするって？
さらって拷問にでもかける気か？
はあ？何それ？レン君そんな趣味があるわけ？
Yeah.
やだもうやめてよね。ちょっともうその発想面白すぎ。
Hey? She began to convulse with laughter, almost as she had just heard a clever joke.
いやごめん困ったな。ちょっと待って。レン君あんまり真顔で言うもんだからおかしくて。
During her continuing fit of laughter, all I could do feel was anger.
面白い発想で悪かったな。初対面で殺そうとしやがったくせに。
And who exactly transferred to my school the next day will make my life a waking nightmare? I'd barely slept at all thanks to her.
いやごめんなさい。なかなか想像力が豊かみたいで。いや若いって素晴らしい。それでさらって拷問？ないそんなこと考えてないから安心してよ。大丈夫やだ、もしかして怒ってる？だったらごめんね。機嫌直して。
She talked like she was pacifying a toddler. I didn't want to hear that from someone the same grade as me, but you do realize she's like 6 years old. Right? 45, yeah, it was 45. Maybe she actually joined the team later, but yeah, from 1945 and over here 2006. So yeah, lots of years, as I said. Wow, she would be an old hag actually. But she looks okay. Well, so far from the bad guys, let's say, she's like the most likable, I guess. I think so. Right, and again, me losing my temper would only give her more reason to treat me like a child.
それで結局答えの方は？
それはね、正直特に考えていないのよ。なんていうかな、初対面の時はいろいろあれしちゃったじゃない？でもね、あなたが違うなら別にどうでもいいっていうか、わざわざ追っかけてきたりしないっていうか。だからこれは偶然なのよ。ここに来たのは別にあなたをどうこうしようなんて理由じゃなくて。
おい、ちょっと待て。
Did you just hear her right?
偶然だと？
そうよ。私たちが選んだ先に偶然あなたがいたってだけ。こう言ったら信じるかな？
No way, but it didn't look like she was like either.
じゃあ俺がここにいたのは偶然として、お前らがここを選んだのも偶然なのか？
おお、鋭いね。いいよ やっぱりあなた結構キレる。
茶化すなよ。
ごめんね、これ勝負だから。それでさっきの質問に対してだけど、答えはいいえ。ちゃんとそれなりの意味があるわよ。ここは何かと私たちにとって都合がいいから。潜伏しやすいし、いざという時に融通も利くし、手間も省けるし。ってあれ、もしかして私不安にさせちゃったかな。
別に。
In short, it sounded like they had business with the school itself, not me specifically. As for what that could have been, I had no clue. Something bad, right? I'm afraid so.
俺には興味がないってことでいいのか？
そうでもないわよ。あなたがここにいるって分かった時は嬉しかったし。それにもしかしたらこれもお約束の枠内かもしれないしね。個人的にもあなたに興味は尽きないわ。だってほら、何か運命的なものを感じるじゃない？
そうだな。
It did feel like this was all fate playing a cruel prank of me, right after I wanted to never meet these guys ever again. I suppose this was good enough for now. Leaning on the fence, I gazed up the sky above while trying to think over the conversation I just had. I didn't feel like I understood any of the important stuff at all, but now I guess I'd at least know what hit me if I stepped on another one of their damn landmines. I took a deep breath in an attempt to calm myself down. I had to get my act together. What's I supposed to do now? How was I to deal with this? I couldn't understand half of what they were saying, but deep down there was one thing I intuitively knew. Even if I was in any immediate danger, I couldn't be optimistic about this situation. After all...
ルサルカ。
何？
She was nuts, abnormal, no matter how thick of mask she put on. It couldn't mask the aura of danger she exuded.
お前が
If these people...
この学校で少しでも。
妙な真似をしたら許さないかしら？本当に勇敢だよね、ベイ君は。あの時だってそう、ベイに立ち向かう姿勢なんて感動ものだったわよ。正しく男の子してるよね。でも勝てない相手に挑むのが勇気と言わないことくらいわかるよね。
That was reckless. Rash courage. A foolish act of narcissism. Yeah, I did know that much, which was why I couldn't say anything to it. A person who only thought those they could beat was a coward. But someone who was all bark and no bite ended up being a fool, nothing more.
あなたはそんなバカじゃない。だから私考えちゃうのよ。もしかしたら勝てる算段があったりするんじゃないのかなって言ったでしょ、あの時も。何かやろうとしてたんじゃないのって。
別に買いかぶりだ。
そう？じゃあ単純に大和魂ってやつだったの？武士道精神、神風特攻、敵前逃亡は士道不覚悟みたいな。今こんな状況に身を置いていることも含めてね。
Rusalka gave her head a purposeful tilt. Damn it. Anyway, silence was no good. At this point, I felt like I was a mouse being toyed with by a cat. She could kill me like a fly at the tiniest of mistakes. I was very much walking thin ice here, with that said for.
私、これでも結構人生経験豊富なのよね。あなたの目には何かこう確信っていうのかな、自信みたいなものの色が見えるんだけど、もしかしてさ、自分はここで死ぬ人間じゃないとかって思ってる？
This was exactly the same as back then. Tell me, have you ever experienced a sensation of foreknowledge? Ascribing validity to foreknowledge is indeed in your very nature. You remain unlike one such as I, who craves desperately for the unknown. Hate her and love her, protect her and destroy her. Act as my substitute and lay waste to this law, this ghetto. I unknowingly staggered back a few steps. Rusalka laughed, yet her eyes gleamed with the same blade-like chill from that night last week. I felt dread, not from the stare but the meaning behind her words. I would die here, so no matter how rash or foolish an action I took, the worst-case scenario would not to come to pass. If so, I had nothing to fear. I felt certain of it, like I'd already known. Impossible! No, that couldn't be right. I had no such power. I pressed my hand against my mouth, trying to fight off a sudden onset of noisy. After a moment of simply staring at me, Rusalka spoke up in a sing-song voice.
あなた、とても面白いね。強いのか弱いのかわからない。黒いのか白いのかわからない。とても半端で、なんか変。ほんと、よくわからない。
And with that, Rusalka walked right past me.
おい。
大丈夫よ、心配しないで。レオンに合わせてあげなくちゃいけないし、おかしなことはしないわよ。でもね。
Rusalka turned around to look at me, eyes narrowed, her shadow was reflected against the marsh fence by the midday sun. There was something mysteriously suspicious about her silhouette.
私、もう昔とは違うんだよ。今ならザミエルにもシュライバーにもマキナにだって負けやしない。だからあんまり甘く見てると食べちゃうからね。
She then beamed and woke up, deciding to throw in a few barefaced remarks.
私は仲良くしたいと思ってるのよ。だってレン君可愛いしね。じゃあね、また教室で会いましょう。
And then she left, her sudden cheeriness in complete contrast with the conversation we just had a minute before. As I was seeing her off, my lips unconsciously formed a few words. Get along with me? What a joke. Glancing towards the wire fence, I noticed that the area touched by her shadow, and only that area had crumbled away. It fell apart along with the rust attached to it, almost like it had been there for decades. It no longer had any use as a fence. What would happen if she did the same thing in class? If it ever came to that, I'd have to do something about it, but... What was I thinking just now? It was only for a moment, but I wished I could be just like them. Seriously, what was wrong with me? I was a human being, not a monster. I was not that Mercurius or that Zarathustra they were talking about. No chance in hell. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and a monster for a monster? A banal idea like that felt more like running from reality, if anything. It was thoroughly pointless, hell holding less value than someone's inane ramblings. I wanted neither to flee or lose. I couldn't let those guys stay in this school. I had to use my head and do something. But what? I feebly lied down on the ground, spreading my limbs out. Thinking it wouldn't get me an answer. It never would.
前から思ってたんだがよ。あのバカ、なんであんなに口軽いんだ?
The man's voice rang with clear expression as he looked up into the air, having a sigh of painful understanding.
よくもまあ次から次にペラペラ。あれで拷問の専門家ってんだから信じられねえよな。そう思うだろ? なあ、おいよ。さっきから何黙りこくってんだお前はよ。レオン、お前俺の話聞いてんのか?
ああ。
The girl too sounded irritated and sullen, as if indicating she hated breaking her silence. She leaned against the leafless tree located in an abandoned corner of the school grounds, shooting sarcasm right back at the man standing behind it.
無駄なおしゃべりが好きなのはそっちも同じことだろ。私に言わせればどちらもそう大差ない。それとも陰口を叩かれたのが気に入らないだけなのか。だとしたら案外強量なんだなとしか言うことはないんだが。
別に ありゃ女の特権だろ。そんなのいちいち気にしてられるか。第一、気づいて言ってるなら陰口じゃない。俺がこの陽気の中出歩いてるのをからかってるだけなんだろうよ。
なるほど。確かに私もそれには少し驚いた。
Clear skies as well as a warm breeze so unlike winter. Kay couldn't help but produce a bitter smile, knowing it was precisely the kind of weather the man despised.
とにかくここでその鬱陶しい殺気を散らされるのは迷惑だ。お前がアルビノになったのは私のせいじゃないだろ。この陽気の中わざわざ出向いてきたのはどういう理由で？まさか先日の続きでもしに来たのか？
ああ、なんだお前、若えくせにいつまでも粘着だな。あんなもんはシャレだろ、シャレ。
笑えないにも程があったが。
そりゃお前の感性が鈍いんだよ。そっちの才能がないんだな。
だったら未だ彼に興味でも。
アホか。言ったろ、あんなガキのことはお前とマレウスでやってりゃいい。男のケツに悪いが興味はないんでね。
Starting, Wilhelm glanced over the school rooftop. He could perfectly perceive and understand the conversation taking place over 100 meters from him. He was neither using a listening device nor did he rely on lip reading. In fact, he didn't even have a clear view, so how?
2、3日中にシュピーネが来る。お前、あいつに会ったことは
？5年ほど前に一度だけ。あまり好きなタイプじゃない。
お前の好みなんか聞いてねえよ。とにかく昔のつてでシュピーネにあのガキのことを調べてもらった。クリストフも何やら探ってたみたいだが、結果は白。5代前まで遡っても猿以外の血は混じってない。残念ながら外れだな。仲間が増えるとでも期待してたか？
別に。
Following a moment of what could be taken as either dejection or relief, Kay shook her hand and reverted to her usual mask of sagacity.
それよりもらしくなく勤労だな。彼には興味がないんじゃなかったか？
結果的に興味がなくなったって話だよ。あのガキは増年金との枝じゃない。つまりメルクリウスに関係してる確率はえらく低い。
が必ずしもゼロというわけじゃないだろう。
お前はあいつのことを知らないからそういうのさ。
Although he tried to play it down with a disparaging sneer, something akin to vicious shadow seemed to cloud over Wilhelm's expression. A kind of dread and repulsion, a vivid sense of fear completely unlike him. Kay lightly raised her eyebrows.
そんなに危険な相手だったと？
ああ、やばいね。あいつはちょっとおかしすぎた。面と向かって口聞けたのは狩猟とマキナの2人くらいさ。お前はやっぱり知らないだろうが、ザミエルやシュライバーでも一線引いてたくらいなんだぜ。波のイカレ野郎じゃなかったのよ。
お前にそう言われたらおしまいのような気もするな。我らが副狩猟閣下殿は日本人がお嫌いだったということなのか？
いや、強いて言うならみんなだ。
みんな？
あいつは全世界を舐め腐ってた。まあそこらは狩猟も同類だったし、だからこそ馬があったんだろうがよ。唯一の救いは自国民にはそこそこ寛容だったってことくらいか。横のつながりで猿にも甘い方だったが、あのホロコースト野郎がレーベンスボルンの落とし子以外に手つけるとも思えねえ。つまりメルクリウスが選ぶなら俺たちと何らかの関わりがあるやつだ。それ以外はあいつにとっちゃみんなクソだよ。価値もねえ。何黙ってやがる。文句があるのか？
いや。
For she shook her head coldly, Kay did have certain apts. Even if Mercurius matched Wilhelm's description of him, wouldn't that have only made him more likely to be less picky? For he claimed Mercurius was tolerant of his companions, Wilhelm was clearly avoiding him. Could they really have been so certain that someone like that considered them all special? Probably not. If he looked down on everyone, then it made no difference who he picked. Either Wilhelm and the rest of the old guard couldn't consider that, or they didn't wish to. At any rate, she would simply have to wait and see for now. Kay exhaled a brief sigh.
そちらの言いたいことは理解した。一応頭に入れておく。ただ、生異物の使い手なら間違いなく近くにいるな。この一帯人口密度と魂の数が合わないし、ひどく曖昧だから断定はできないが、おそらく。
あのガキか。
五分五分。いや、六分四分は。彼はそういうタイプだと思うから。
まあ実際極物に好かれそうな感じだわな。それにお前気づいたか？
Wilhelm gets to the rooftop with a smirk.
あのガキ、多分な。
そう。
The rest of his sentence melted in the rustle of the wind, reaching only Kay's ears. Whatever he might have said, it made the girl's expression harden.
大方マレウスも同じように思ってるぜ。あれはそういうやつが好きだからな。それでお前はどうなんだ？親近感とか湧いたりするか？
興味がない。
Her tone implied she had already forgotten. One could say she was being more indifferent than necessary.
ただそうなると、7部3部まで上げるべきかもしれないな。
でも、所詮ただのコッパだろうが。メルクリウスの術のせいで釣られて湧いただけだろうぜ。
だがお前たちは、当初あれが当たりだと踏んだんだろ？
そうだが、外れだったもんはしょうがない。黒煙卓に補欠席なんかないからな。
A conclusion with no room for argument. It didn't seem like Wilhelm was trying to distort her theory. That said, she couldn't agree with his stance of denying everything on the sole account that Ren Fuji was a pure-blooded Japan. She was fed up with his difficult-to-understand elitism and racism, but that was how he had always been. She didn't have to take him up on every little thing.
そのあたりは別の誰か、もう少し話のわかる相手に相談する。正体不明の生異物とその使い手を、この時期放置しておくのもまずいから。とにかく今はそれも含めて慎重に行くべきだ。マスター不在でゲームを始めても仕方ないし、せいぜい自重するんだな。
おい、そりゃ嫌味のつもりか？
どうとでも取ればいい。ただ。
However, there was one thing she wanted to make clear. With that in mind, Kay went on.
狩猟は、ハイドリヒ教は本当に戻ってくるのか？それが保証できない限りは。
ああ、俺やお前や他の全員が狂い損だな。まあ、あの人ならそういう冗談もやりかねんが、気にすんなよ。
無理を言う。そうなれば、お前も私もただの道化になるだけだ。それでもいいと？
なるほど、道化か。そりゃそうだ。
ベイ、お前はいつまでふざけている？
まあ待てよ、落ち着きな。
Wilhelm lowered his tone, attempting to pacify the girl as she sounded a stifled chuckle. He was acting completely different from how he had been up until now.
これもやっぱり、お前はあの人のことを分かってねえよ。生まれる前だから仕方ないが、発言には気をつけた方がいい。狩猟は戻ってくると思う。前にも言ったが、四半世紀も生きてないちんけな猿の沈静感であの人を測ろうなんて思うな、レオ。あれは悪魔だ。他にふさわしい言葉を俺は知らない。さしずめ、愛すべからざる光の金。おう、時よ止まれ。汝は核も美しい。
In contrast to puzzled Kay, Wilhelm's suppressed laugh continued without end, soon warped by madness.
メフィストフェレス。狩猟の将軍は知っている。ならファウストは？
この町さ。契約はあの時にベルリンで狩猟とメルクリウスが交わしてる。証拠に見ろよこの町を。これは俺たちのおかげなんだぜ。あとは悪魔が出やすいように地獄を作ってやればいいのさ。
こんな風にか。
Kay gave the trunk. She will lean against a light punch. Perhaps it was an optical illusion, but right before she did, the bark looked like it was wriggling like entrails.
お前が何に興奮するのも勝手だが、自重しろと言ったのを忘れないでほしいな、注意殿。ここは私とマレウスの領域だ。犯すならそれなりの覚悟をしてもらうぞ。
ツンケンすんなよ。俺はお前がここをスワスチカの一つにできるとは思えないんでね。
つまりそれは舐めているのか。
なに、老婆心だよ。俺もマレウスも年だからな。こんなとこには何の考えも湧かないが、お前は違うだろう、ケイちゃんよ。お似合いじゃねえか、その格好。かわいいぜ。
After giving Kay's uniform an appraising look, Wilhelm went on.
普通に生きて恋して遊んで泣いて笑って純愛感動青春万歳。低能な劣等どもが喜びそうな飴玉だらけの箱じゃねえか。お前の憧れだろうがよ。だから手よく夢見てたいならそう言いな。俺が代わりに猿の血で我慢してやるからよ。ほらよう。
くだらないな。
Taking a step forward, Kay turned to look back at Wilhelm.
私をからかうにしろ、言葉を選べ。以後侮辱は許さない。
はあ、余計なお世話か。ならお前分かってるよな。
愚問が好きだな。それとも頭が悪いのか。時を止まれ。汝は核も美しい。そう言わせてほしいんだろう。いくらでも言わせてやるさ。
面白い。二言はねえな、東洋人。
誓ってほしいか、自称アーリア人。
Wilhelm made no answer. Instead leaned out a laugh filled with malice. For it shouldn't have been particularly loud, all birds in the vicinity scrambled off in the distance, away from the trees.
そうかいそうかい。こいつはいいぜ。せいぜいマレウスに先越されんなよ。
Using a brief moment when the sound was hidden at a rift in the clouds as his cue, Wilhelm took off. As the presence gradually vanished, Kay muttered a brief phrase to herself.
尺に触る。
After all, it had been known since ancient times that men with overly loose tongues were good for nothing. Is that so? Well, I wouldn't know. Anywho, well, the class is ended and so on, but let's end the episode here first. Until in the next one we'll continue the day, basically, the current day from the irae. For now, hope you enjoyed it and see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Anywho, almost 4 AM. I'm going to bed. Good night. Well, technically, when the episode ends, it will, well, after the upload, it is the hour to, well, basically go to bed. So yeah, good night is quite a good say for me to say. At least in my time zone. So yeah, good night.